player, but most of all, he's talking about social impact and blockchain. And some of you, and I certainly wonder, what does social impact and blockchain has to do with each other? Maybe we'll get the answer in a couple of seconds. Social impact, UN goals, is this just hype and buzz? We'll get the answer now from, if you give him a big hand, Zikry Kholil.
Right, thank you for having me. Thank you for flying me all the way from Malaysia through the Asia. If you haven't been there, please visit the country. It's nice. Summer all day long. So in 2008, everybody knew what happened. The mortgage crisis, the bubble burst. Millions lost their jobs. Millions lost their money from the amount that they've saved. And even though when this happened, there was another thing that happened at the same time, and some guy named Satoshi Nakamoto. We don't even know if he's real. Also, if you're one of those crypto guys, you probably like. There's a lot of rumors going on Reddit. So he came up with blockchain through Bitcoin, digital currency, new stuff, disrupt the financial industry. That was the whole motive of those guys back then. And slowly you're seeing an emergence of ICOs left and right, north, south, west, east, and people are really bandwagoning the whole blockchain phenomenon. But how does this have to do with social impact in the first place? From someone like me, personally, coming from that specific industry, there's a lot of potential that is, I personally think, could be a missed opportunity if not we take this seriously. And allow me to take you through a journey of why we should prioritize on real use case for blockchain, actually. The United Nations introduced the Sustainable Development Goals during the World Humanitarian Summit in 2015. It is to replace the Millennium Development Goals, which flopped, to be honest, to be blunt about it. Usually Asians are not so blunt, but today I'm telling you, it did not work out. And it was done by hundreds of consultants who came up with these SDGs, simply because it's not working. The former Premier, the former Secretary General, he said the current model of the social development ecosystem is not working. Just think about it. Just think about it, how many agencies out there, how many IGOs to foundations. We're in 2018. And to give you a bit of a figure, the number of charity donation is dropping. Why? There's some trust issue. At the same time, the number of more problems are increasing. And I'll tell you much more that in depth. So they came up with like 17 goals, from energy poverty to gender equality, and so forth. And they're trying to tie it down by getting more corporate brands, the private sectors, to pick one or two or three or four, and use that as a social mission to drive forward for what's coming next the next decade or two. And now we have this conversation about how can we blockchain this, It seems like everything, we're blockchaining everything. Blockchaining diamonds, blockchaining mining, blockchaining this and that. So I want to try and help you guys to give a bit, to make sense. How beautiful use case of blockchain can be applied with UN SDGs. Have you ever read this book, Abundance by Peter Diamandis? Anyone knows Peter Diamandis? Perfect, beautiful. Anyone knows X Prize? X space. Good. So this is the guy who started it all. This book tells us that we are living in the most abundant time of our life. What does that mean? That means it's the most peaceful time. It's a time where all of us are thriving with all this amazing growth, technology coming up left and right, trying to simplify life. And he says in his book, abundance is not about providing a way of luxury. It's actually giving all kinds of life the possibility. And this resonates a lot with people who are visionaries. They think really far. And it goes down deep for people like us who are in the social entrepreneurs industry. So in this time, you see the emergence of Uber, Facebook. Yeah, I put like 3 different blockchain, crypto, there just to put them in the game. You know, there's EOS there. There's Tron. Or not, I'm sure some of you have Tron coins, and so forth. And we are blessed with an amazing time to focus on creating all these amazing startups, products, services for the market that is ready to be marketed. I'm not sure that makes sense, but that's the whole point. We are focusing so much on these markets, and it's true. You know, it's peaceful time. We haven't had a world war in a while, apart from the whole other different crises, of course. But again, it's incomparable with what we had the past 200-300 years, right? Oh snap! What was this like? I can't remember. Okay, so this is what. So 90% of most companies, or even startups now, we're focusing on developed and developing market. And this is roughly about 4 billion of the global population. And what I'm trying to say is, what are we doing with the other 4 billion? These guys, we call them, they are stuck in this, what we call the dark economy. An economy that is not working or involved or active in the real economy like all we are in right now. And here's the thing. There is a contribution from Silicon Valley here. You can see people like Bill Gates, you know, with his Gates Foundation, and Warren Buffett, and all these other old-timers, Omidyar from eBay, all investing in trying to make this world a better place. But there's two sides of the coin here. One is saying we should build things that matter, while the other one is saying we should build things that is cool. Yeah, sure, millennials love things that are cool. One of those common factors of doing cool products is the fact that we are spoiled by instant gratification. It's true. You open your Facebook, you look at how many likes, you look at your emails even. We are spoiled, and this is because Silicon Valley has one of the best, smartest experts when it comes to how can we hack with consumers to get them hooked on with the product. And they cannot, it's not easy to tie it down with impact, social impact to indigenous villages. You can't give them instant gratification with your product. It's if you can, let me know, I want to know. And this is the thing, this is a contribution culture that we are living in. I'm a victim, all of you are a victim, right? No, we don't think about this, but if I were to get you out from this box that we're living in, this is what's happening, you know? So instant gratification is it's like a daily life now for all of us. Like, even though in the age of abundance, yes, we're thriving with all this amazing innovation that's helping to simplify people's lives from everywhere around the world. But if you were to flip around the coin, you will see that there's still people who are suffering from, about what? From different various issues, from energy poverty, from running water that's drinkable, from sanitation. There are more people who own smartphones than toilets. And again, please put in mind, we're in 2018, guys. What is this, you know? Financial services. We're very lucky to have banks, or even an e-wallet, but many of us don't. We end up going to loan sharks, borrowing money from mafias. You know, they become easy victims. These are people who are stuck in what I said earlier, the dark economy. And now we have a huge influx of refugees who are losing their identity, and they're not pretty much in a better place like most of us, right? But I want to link back to, like I said earlier, how blockchain can have a really beautiful use case for this. Has anyone heard about this project here in Jordan, in the refugee camp? It's done by the World Food Program, where they use your identity as a way of transacting the ration that they get. This cuts off millions of dollars of money when they do the usual bank transfers. It's amazing. It's seamless. And this is something that's powerful because at the same time, you're giving them a sense of identity. Anyone familiar with the Rohingya issue in Myanmar? Where they are all stateless, right? So these guys don't have, they're stateless, man. What do you expect they're going to do? They're on survival mode day and night. And there's this amazing project called the Rohingya project back in Malaysia. We have an influx of 150,000 Rohingyas in Malaysia. And what are we doing there? We're giving them an identity, a digital identity. I think most of us do have some form of that in the Western world, but in people like them to think of that they can have an identity of themselves where they can just seamlessly go around and just like QR codes, you're just going to use your eye retina. You know, like I said, these are really beautiful use cases of blockchain and infused a bit with fintech as well. What we do at Incitement is we are educating brands on how to reutilize CSR, corporate social responsibility. Back home in Asia, we always talk, a lot of brands like to do one-off projects every year, just because they have a bit of money and trying to showcase like, hey, we're doing something good for the community, yay. Okay, but again, I think there's a missed opportunity there because just like CSR, it is a form of branding. It is a form of branding. Why not we get brands to use this opportunity to market themselves, just like how football are slapped with all these sponsors. It's the same thing. There's a huge challenge for social projects, NGOs out there looking for grants day and night. It's very competitive. So why not you fund them with your marketing campaigns, you know? Go out there. And there is a study done by Cone Research that more and more consumers are changing. They would prefer, if you have to put two brands in front of you, one has a social mission and one doesn't, 88% would go with the one that has a social mission. And this is growing every year. 3% every year, it's growing. So brands need to start to rethink the way how they're gonna reach out to their future consumers. They have to change. It's inevitable, especially like I said, when more issues are emerging left and right. And these are the 5 R's that brands do gain from them, and we educate them. There's revenue alignment here. If you link with these kind of initiatives, trying to do CSR, yet in a very innovative manner, trying to show that their product does focus. Reputation, amazing. Public will have more trust. Recruitment, many of your, I'm sure anyone owns a company here with millennials in their as a staff who is always asking, I'm trying to make a difference, but I don't feel like this company is doing it. It's happening on a lot of these multinational companies. This will help in retention as well. Very big. Everybody likes to like hop and off to another company trying to fit in. And when you have a social mission, it just gives you this humanistic approach for them, in general speaking, to look back and how they could do more for the company. Because now you have pretty much adopted a way of doing some form of social mission with your product or your service. And lastly, relationships. I think brands should build relationships with communities, not just looking at them as people who just keep buying of them. And there's a lot of that trend emerging lately, especially with the focus of trying to get them out from poverty to some form of middle class, so that they can also one day enjoy some form of this kind of lifestyle, which is the middle class. So you must ask, I have to ask myself why are we doing this in the first place? Why am I so much putting this in your face, pretty much, about trying to look into this kind of aspect? It's the same with everyone. Everyone in the fintech community have their own battles. So do we. We have our own battles. I fight for this. You guys are fighting for that. Well, I'm fighting for this because we're living in a very abundant age of tremendous technology that could really solve the world problem. I'm serious. Why? Another thing why I'm doing this is because we're trying to give back dignity to people who have been suffering, as if I'm saying this because trying to show you we're ignoring them, but we're not. It's the best thing you can give to a human being, and like it or not, being human, we want to be part of a tribe. It's common. All of us want to be part of something. We got to look at long-tail, deep impact use case of blockchain or any kind of technology alike by being more closing the gap with beneficiaries. For brands, we got to start targeting more on the underdeveloping markets. It's a lot, and it's a lot of work, and it's not easy. And I'll tell you why in a bit. Deep integration of SDG, yes. You can't use SDGs as guides anymore. You got to start, walk the talk. And that one of the best ways is trying to partner with all these local players. We have one here, Hive Online, who will come on board later. And they're one of those few. They should be partnering with those guys to really integrate this deeply. And every brand has a social mission. They should have this, because then there's more trust, there's more direction. Richard Branson famously said in one of his books, companies that thrive in the next 20 years are companies who are purposeful than profits, because they both can go along. You just haven't figured out yet, right? Lastly, we need to render the dark economy obsolete. The dark economy consists of so many things. Human trafficking, I know these are not really normal stuff that happens in Europe, at least in this part. But back home, triangular actions, human trafficking, slave, labor worker, all of this, we're easily exploited. So we need a lot of help in this part. And what is it not? What better can we do by just getting them out of it and let them be active in the real economy? It's as simple as that. The hurdles that we face is just this. Law enforcement, rule of law, regulations. We can't do our work full optimum if we don't get the support from the local government or the municipality, because there's a lot of linkage, Yeah, and this is happening as we speak. There's a group of projects down in Gabon, right? A lot of NGOs building roads and wells. It's nice. You're giving them a infrastructure that the villagers can go. But at the same time, because there's not much rule of law going on, you have soldiers like these soldiers up here who would just exploit these women, They insult them, rape them, and so forth. And you can't report that, which sucks. So that's why rule of law, regulations, it must be taken, it has to fit really well. And you can't do this alone. We got to start from bottom top. So if you want to make the blockchain or the fintech industry and so forth, to make it work with the SDGs, you got to try and think back on how to do so. Because at the end of the day, we just want to give all of life the possibility to live happily ever after. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? But hey, life imitates art. So if anyone can dream big, this is the time. It's 2018, guys. So I said that many times. So with that, I'd like to end my keynote. Oops, sorry. And that's pretty much it, man. So.